All right. Hello, everyone. I intended to start promptly at 6:30, but things happened. One thing that happened was there was another discussion over on another channel, a very heated discussion, and so I was lending my ear over there to hear what they were talking about. So let me get this going. I'm simulcasting tonight to my original Big Discussions 76 channel and also to Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology, because this is both um, an education related piece, and also it's a science related piece as well. I see some folks uh, making themselves known in the chat. Let me see who this is. Okay, J Bones. What's going on, J Bones? Okay, so let me make sure that I can see myself on my original channel. And then I'm going to see if I can see myself over on my science channel. Again, tonight I am simulcasting. So I'm broadcasting to both channels. Okay, so I can see myself there on the original Big Discussions 76 channel. Let me go to my science channel on my phone and make sure I can see myself over there. Yep, I am live over there. So I'm going to, since I'm simulcasting and I'm broadcasting to both channels tonight, I'm going to use my intro from the science channel. So those of you on the original channel, you may, well, you're in for a surprise because you're gonna see a nice montage of science related pictures. But I'm gonna use that intro. I've got my space shuttle here. I got my stealth bomber here, and I'm gonna play the intro. I'm gonna get my voice. I'm gonna get my mouth nice and moist because I'm gonna do a bunch of reading tonight. And then I'll jump in and hopefully wrap this up in an hour, unless folks file in like they did last night. So I'll see you on the other side of the intro. All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, my original channel, and I'm also simulcasting to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. It's Black History Month. Um, I'll show that image there. And tonight we're going to focus on the Black astronauts because it turns out that there's a long line of them. I don't think they get enough coverage, and I think that they are very important symbols uh, for young people from our community. And I think that if we want to create more Dr. Dunbars, then these symbols have to be more visible. So I think that imaging and messaging matter. Herbert Lewis says, I'm going to listen and doze off. Okay, well, I hope not, Herb. I hope I say something here that's meaningful. Dozing off, that suggests that I'm going to bore you or something like that. Anyway, Ian Williams says, nice intro. Appreciate that. Yeah, you gotta change it up as you go along. And I thought that creating uh, that nice montage of pictures is good, but putting that ambient music under it, very space like, very outer space. I think that was good. I'm glad you liked it. Um, so the black astronauts. I'm gonna start with something um, that's kind of related, but I think that it's something that's related to my feeling on imaging and messaging. I think imaging is important. I think messaging is important, and I think regarding the mainstream media and pop culture, I think that um, imaging and messaging are very intentional. I think that we are intentionally shown certain images, and I think that we are intentionally not shown certain images. On Saturday, for those of you interested, I'm going to do something on uh, America's first Black billionaire, Reginald Lewis. And I think that someone like this, along with the Black astronauts, someone like this needs to be more visible because he sets a very stellar example. And I'm powering through the book, which I have a little bit left. I'm hoping to finish it by Saturday, but I'm still going to do the stream whether or not I finish the book. But it turns out that Reginald Lewis had his own run-ins with the media, and he also had his own distrusts of the media. And I'm going to read something from this book that I think is very telling because it turns out Malcolm X didn't trust the media. We know that I probably shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say this, but the last president had his run-ins with the media. You could argue that was self-inflicted, but the media has a long history of breeding distrust um, amongst the populace, or at least amongst certain individuals in the populace, and also, companies, corporations. They have whole marketing divisions, and messaging is intentional, and there's a reason why certain things are shoved in front of us, and there's a reason why certain things aren't. So I'm going to read a quick passage from Reginald Lewis's book. I'm going to talk more about this on Saturday, but I was reading it earlier, and I think it very much reflects this whole thing about messaging being intentional and images being intentional. So Reginald Lewis is quoted in his book as saying this: um, Sophie Sufyan Lashugar. I don't know if I said that right. Thank you. I have two NASA T-shirts. This is probably my favorite. By the way, guys, I don't have a super chat on Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology. If you want to make a donation over there, my Cash App and PayPal are here. I do have a super chat over on my original channel. You guys are under no obligation to donate anything, but if you feel so inclined, that's there over on the original channel. I have a super chat. Anyway, Reginald Lewis read this. Reginald Lewis is quoted as follows. Reginald Lewis is quoted as follows. Okay. Some writers have tried to put a twist on some of the noteworthy things the African Americans do, or else they don't quite want to acknowledge them. They have a limited number of people they have a big vested interest in, probably even a notion of white superiority. You can chronicle you can chronicle the achievements of African Americans in so many different areas whenever the barriers have been broken. Look at the arts, certainly in athletics, even in business. And this has happened over significant periods of time. I remember a few years ago uh, when a kid who was African American and part Filipino won one of the Olympic fencing championships. Well, that couldn't get any kind of really significant play. At one time here in New York City, the number one chess player, a kid of African ancestry who was 12 years old, was the national champion and received little, if any, publicity. The media are truly not interested in promoting those types of stories. So, imaging is intentional, and messaging is intentional and deliberate. So, with my voice and my platform, I think we should celebrate Black history throughout the year, and we should celebrate all of it. And there are certain parts of it that are kind of kept in the dark, in my opinion, and we need to bring those parts out, the good, the bad, the ugly. But tonight we're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the Black astronauts. So I'm going to start with really Chris. Hello there, really Chris. Let's okay, we got some folks coming in. Hello, really Chris. Always good to see you. Always great, always great to see you. Peanut Butter Hero says, when I was in Houston, I toured NASA. Mission Control is probably the best part of the tour. Gino Richardson, Michigan represent. He says, what's up, Doc? Thank you for stopping through. I know there's another stream going on right now. Uh, thank you for being here, Gino. All right. Where was I? Imaging and messaging. Some of you know that as part of my STEM journey, part of that involved volunteering my time. And if you watched my interview with a gentleman named Raphael Perino, I volunteered with him at the Arlington Planetarium here in Northern Virginia. I volunteered there for a number of years, and I actually tutored in Raphael's father's tutoring business. His father, Ralph, he writes. We just collaborated on a piece. I'm going to bring Ralph and another woman up probably next week. But I learned about my backgrounds are in the biomedical sciences, pharmacology, toxicology, those kinds of things. So I was very much oblivious to the the astronomy, the astrophysics, and the aerospace worlds. So I don't really know anything about those. Um, so I learned a lot about those in large part through volunteering at the Arlington Planetarium, and I think they wanted me, the friends of the planetarium wanted me to be on the board to help bring in more minority participation. And unfortunately, if you're familiar with Northern Virginia and the DMV, the planetarium is over in Arlington, and a significant chunk of the Black population in the DMV lives over in PG County. So, unfortunately, when we did our nights and we did our full dome shows, there weren't a lot of African American slash Black kids who came over There were a lot of um, Caucasian slash white kids and Asian kids and kids from other ethnicities in the audience, thinking about outer space, asking questions, and perhaps formulating science and aerospace and astronomy related careers in their minds, where there weren't a lot of our kids over there, unfortunately. But in any case, Ralph uh, told me about someone um, who's pretty well known, depending upon the circle you run in. He said, there's this guy named Neil deGrasse Tyson who, and you should read his book, Anwar, because you're a STEM advocate yourself, and you write about science, and you're in science. That's a book that you should read. So I got a copy of this book, and I learned about. Give me a second here. And for the first time, where is? Oh, there it is. For the first time, I learned about Neil deGrasse Tyson. He wasn't up to that point. I don't think he had done the remake of Cosmos yet, but it was my first time hearing about him. He wasn't talked about a lot in uh, mainstream and mainstream media and pop culture up to that point. Obviously, he's famous now. I think in a broad sense because he hosted the remake of Cosmos. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Cosmos, that was a science show. I looked it up, which aired in 1980. So I was only four years old at that time. I'm dating myself. So I don't remember the original Cosmos show that was started by the late great Carl Sagan. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that until Dr. Perino, who's Italian, turned me on to Neil deGrasse Tyson and told me that I should read his book, I had no idea who Neil deGrasse Tyson was, right? And there are even people in our community today who are melanated and look like us. There are even people today who don't know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is. He's an astronomer. He's um, I'll just say that he holds a very high position. He might be the chairman. I didn't look it up of the Hayden Planetarium in New York City, and he's a titan in that astronomy slash astrophysics world. He's a science influencer, but a lot of our people don't know who this is, and I think that's a problem. So I just wanted to use him as a segue to say that unfortunately a lot of our in my opinion, uh, Black STEM professionals and scientists, they're pretty much unknown aside from those few who are handpicked out, just as Reginald Lewis said in his book. So that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. If you're unfamiliar with him, um, that's who he is. He's all over the place now. He, he's got an autobiography. I read that, and he also had his original background, his original interest before he got into astronomy um, was he was a wrestler at one point. So, you know, he did that a lot in his youth, but also he went ahead and pursued astronomy. So anyway, that's Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. So let's talk about other science images and Black science imaging in the mainstream media and pop culture. Well, a couple of years ago, there was a movie that was a really big deal, um, Hidden Figures. I went to the theater and saw Hidden Figures, and I thought it was a very, very good movie. As you can see here, based on the untold true story. Meet the women you don't know behind the mission you do. Starred Janelle Monáe, Taraji P Henson, and Octavia Butler. I almost, uh, her name almost escaped me. Octavia Butler. I think that's Octavia Butler. That was a good movie. Um, an important message, but the one question I'll ask, and I might get in trouble today, in our era of gender equality and gender equity, um, what images were there for young Black boys in that? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with uplifting the images of the women who were involved, or where were the images, or where are the images of the Black male scientists? That's what I thought about earlier today when I was putting this stream together and formulating this in my mind. When I thought about that movie, good movie, but where's the imaging for the boys? Another movie I thought about was The Martian, starring Matt Damon. And it turns out that this was a really good movie. I'm not going to go over the entire plot because that goes beyond the scope of what I'm talking about tonight. Um, Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think I pronounced that correctly. He had a prominent role in the movie. He was more um, on the space administration side, coordinating with the the team that left Matt Damon on Mars, coordinating with them, and also I think Sean Bean, in terms of the logistics of how they would make the return trip to Mars, or even if they should. So it was good that they showed him in that capacity, in that decision making role. So he was in that, and also Donald Glover was in that movie. He wasn't a part of the crew, which I think I would have liked to have seen, but he played a prominent role because he came up with the calculations for the return trip to go back to Mars to get Matt Damon and rescue Matt Damon. So there were two Black men in there, which I thought was good in terms of imaging. One in the more administration, the other one actually on the ground level doing the actual mathematics and the physics. So the Black astronauts, and so just moving on, I wanted to do something to highlight our real life Black astronauts because they're there. Um, these are all very well accomplished and smart people. Um, they were either, as you'll see, they were either scientists themselves, or they were military service men and women. And as I'll describe, being in the Air Force, being an airman or an airwoman in the Air Force, some of you may not know this, but you have to know a lot of science to be a pilot. And I'm going to show that right here. Again, my backgrounds are in the biomedical sciences, but I learned this through my writing and through sitting in on a workshop over in Maryland one Saturday afternoon. So it turns out they had a program for boys over there, teaching them about aviation and flight. So this pilots have to know and have a mastery of these four elements here: weight, which they consider synonymous with gravity, or G, lift, drag, and thrust. So these are all four scientific concepts that our commercial pilots and our military pilots, they all have to know and understand these four concepts in real time when piloting aircraft. Uh, to when the aircraft is working properly, and also when the aircraft is working improperly. And I don't know, I'm sure that those four are involved in space travel, albeit differently, because when you go to outer space, you're in zero gravity. But I just wanted to show that slide to emphasize that as I'm reading over these people, and as I'm highlighting and celebrating these people, keep in mind that these are all um, very, very smart and intelligent people with scientific backgrounds. So, with that, let's jump in. I might lose my voice by the time this is over, but I think it's worth me taking the time to go over this and to acknowledge and celebrate these individuals, these men and women, because a lot of us don't know that they're there and that they exist. Here in the DMV, when I would go do career days and STEM fairs, I was told quite often that I was the first Black scientist that um, not only had the students met in these schools, and these were mostly Black schools, but also the faculty. I was the first Black scientist, and also other professionals and government workers here in the DMV. I was the first scientist that they had ever met. I think that's a problem. Let's see. Appreciate you guys commenting. Once again, I don't have a super chat over on Big Discussion 76 Science and Technology. If you want to throw something in the tip jar via Cash App or PayPal, that is there. So I'm going to read I'm going to read the bios for these people. This is online, and they are also in the description box below in case you want to save a copy of this for yourself. It's a PDF. And so let's walk through and learn about the Black astronauts. Chris, I want to thank you for the Cash App. Appreciate you coming through and hanging out, and I also appreciate the support. So this is from the NASA website. So NASA's African American astronauts, and I've talked about the first one um, before in my YouTube content because, as you'll see, he was a member of the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger STS-107, which disintegrated. It disintegrated on its reentry back into the Earth's atmosphere. There was something wrong. There was a piece missing from the wing of the shuttle, and when a spacecraft re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, uh, due to the air particles in the atmosphere, is air particles the right word? Due to the atmosphere, there's friction. So once that piece was gone, the entire spacecraft disintegrated. So, and David M. Brown was a member of that crew, and that's who the Arlington Planetarium is named after. Anyway, Lieutenant Colonel Michael P. Anderson was born on December 25th, 1959, in Plattsburgh, New York. He graduated from Cheney High School in Cheney, Washington, in 1977. I was 1 year old that year. He received a Bachelor of Science in Physics/Astronomy from the University of Washington in 1981 and a Master of Science in Physics from Creighton University in 1990. He was selected by NASA in December 1994. Anderson flew on the STS-89 and the STS-107, logging over 593 hours in space. He died on February 1st, 2003, when the Space Shuttle Columbia and the crew perished during re-entry. Okay. Guion S. Bluford Jr. was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on November 22nd, 1942. He received a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from Pennsylvania State University in 1964. He earned a Master of Science with distinction in Aerospace Engineering from the Air Force Institute of Technology in 1974. He earned a Doctorate of Philosophy in Aerospace Engineering with a minor in Laser Physics from the Air Force Institute of Technology in 1978, and a Master in Business Administration from the University of Houston, Clear Lake in 1987. He became a NASA astronaut in August 1979. Bluford is a veteran of 4 space flights and was a mission specialist on STS-8 and STS-61A, STS-39, and STS-53. Okay, how often do we hear about these people? Charles F. Bolden Jr. was born on August 19th, 1946, in Columbia, South Carolina. He graduated from C.A. Johnson High School in Columbia, South Carolina in 1964. He received a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Science from the United States Naval Academy in 1968 and a Master of Science in Systems Management from the University of Southern California in 1977. He was selected by NASA in May of 1980. Bolden is a veteran of 4 space flights with over 680 hours in space. He served as a pilot on the STS 61C and the STS-31, and commander on the STS-45 and STS-60. Bolden was selected as the 12th NASA administrator and first African American administrator in 2009, leading the agency to achieve NASA's mission and goals. He retired as NASA administrator in 2017. Okay, here's our first woman on the list. Yvonne Darlene Cagle, MD. So some of the astronauts are actually medical doctors. Born in West Point, New York, she received a Bachelor of Arts in Biochemistry from San Francisco State University in 1981 and a doctorate in medicine from the University of Washington in 1985. She received certification in aerospace medicine from the School of Aerospace Medicine at Brooks Air Force Base in Texas, in aerospace in 1988. I'm sorry. She completed her residency in family practice at the Gent FP at Eastern Virginia Medical School in 1992. She received certification as a senior aviation medical examiner from the Federal Aviation Administration in 1995. Cagle was selected by NASA in April 1996. Cagle is currently stationed at Ames, at the Ames Research Center, where she leads the astronaut science liaison and strategic relationships and is the strategic relationships manager for Google and other Silicon Valley programmatic partnerships. Robert L. Kirby Jr. Born March 5th, 1962 in Baltimore, Maryland. He graduated from Woodlawn High School in Baltimore County, Maryland in 1980. He received a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from the United States Naval Academy in 1984 and a Master of Science in Astronautical Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School in 1990. He earned a degree in Aeronautical and Astronautical Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School in 1991. Kirby was selected by NASA in December 1994. He flew on STS-85, STS-98, and STS-116, logging over 593 hours in space, including over 19 spacewalk hours during 3 spacewalks. Benjamin Alvin Drew was born November 5th, 1962 in Washington, D.C. He graduated from Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C. in 1980. He received a Bachelor of Science in Astronautical Engineering and a Bachelor of Science in Physics from the United States Army Air Force Academy in 1984, and a Master of Science in Aerospace. And a Master of Science in Aerospace Science from Embry-Riddle University in 1995. Drew was selected as a mission specialist by NASA in July 2000 and attended a master's degree program at Maxwell Air Force Base's Air War College. He flew on the STS-118 in 2007 and the STS-133 in 2011. 2 things here. This is the last page. The Navy, I learned this, through my writing covering an event. The Navy, it turns out, is the most STEM intensive military branch. So I didn't know that. When you think about the Navy, you think about going out to sea for months and being out in the middle of the ocean. But it turns out it's the most STEM intensive branch. And also, STS refers to the mission. And I don't know that I'd ever be brave enough. I don't know that I'd ever be brave enough to go up in a spacecraft myself, especially after seeing what can happen at times during these space missions. So, thank you for correcting me, Joe, the average brother. I knew it was Octavia. It was Octavia Spencer. Octavia Butler was the writer, the Black science fiction writer. Okay, thank you. If I don't write things down sometimes, I'll make mistakes. And if no one corrects you, it's on the video as a permanent record. So thank you again, Joe, the average brother, for correcting me on that. It was Octavia Spencer, not Octavia Butler. Fact checking, very, very important. Okay, let me take a sip here of my drink. Really, Chris says, my dad retired from the Air Force as a chief air traffic controller. Prior to that, he was a pilot. My baby brother will enlist into the Space Force, military branch once he completes his engineering degree. Wow, that's very impressive, Chris. That's very, very impressive. Okay, so this is the final page. I'm going to read through all these. These are a little bit shorter. As you can see, there are both men and women here. I think this is important. Jeanette Epps was born in Syracuse, New York. She was from 2 hours from where I was born. I was born in Albany. That's 2 hours. Syracuse is the middle point between Buffalo and Albany. So I was born in Albany. I grew up in Buffalo. She is born in Syracuse, so she's used to cold weather. Jeanette J. Epps was born in Syracuse, New York. She graduated from Thomas J. Corcoran High School in Syracuse, New York in 1988. She received a Bachelor of Science in Physics from Lemoyne College in 1992 and a Master of Science in and a Doctorate of Philosophy in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Maryland in 1994 and 2000, respectively. Epps was selected in 2009. She graduated from astronaut candidate training, which includes instruction in International Space Station systems, spacewalk training, robotics, T-38 flight training, and water and wilderness survival training. I'm going in alphabetical order here. Otherwise, I would have jumped straight to Mae Jemison. Victor J. Glover Jr. was born in Pomona, California. He graduated from Ontario High School in Ontario, California in 1994. Wow, so he's same year as me. He received a Bachelor of Science in General Engineering from California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, California. In 1999, a Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering from Air University, Edwards Air Force Base, California in 2007, a Master of Science in Systems Engineering from Naval Postgraduate School in 2009, and a Master of Military Operational Art and Science from Air University, Montgomery, Alabama in 2010. Glover was selected in 2013 and is training for the first post-certification mission of SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft and a long duration mission aboard the International Space Station. So guys and gals, I have a PhD in pharmacology, but I'm in awe of these people as I'm reading this. Frederick D. Gregory. He was born January 7th, 1941 in Washington, D.C. He graduated from Anacostia High School in 1958. He received a Bachelor of Science from the United States Air Force Academy in 1964 and a master's degree in information systems from George Washington University in 1977. He was selected as an astronaut candidate in 1978. A veteran of 3 shuttle missions, he has logged over 455 hours in space. He served as a pilot on the STS-51B and was the commander on the STS-33 and STS-44. Gregory led the agency's safety and mission assurance effort and later the Office of Spaceflight. He retired as NASA's deputy administrator in 2005. How often do we hear about these people? I mean, how often? You have to go looking for this information. This is so important that I'll probably share this in my Facebook network. I don't share everything in my Facebook network anymore, but this is worth sharing over there. This is important stuff. How often do we hear about these people? Bernard A. Harris Jr. was born on June 26th, 1956, in Temple, Texas. He graduated from Sam Houston High School in San Antonio, Texas, in 1974. He received a Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of Houston in 1978 and a doctorate in medicine from Texas Tech University School of Medicine in 1982. He completed a residency in internal medicine at the Mayo Clinic in 1985. He trained as a flight surgeon at the Aerospace School of Medicine, Brooks Air Force Base, in 1988, and also received a master's degree in biomedical science from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston in 1996. Harris was selected by NASA in January 1990 and is a veteran of 2 space flights with more than 438 hours in space on STS-55 and STS-63. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. Royston Gibbs, thank you for stopping through over on my original channel. I actually know you're watching over on the Science channel. Okay. And thank you for all of you who are sitting here partaking in this. This is important information, but it doesn't appeal to everybody. And please share this in your Facebook networks. I mean, or whichever network that you have. Share it with your family. I mean, there are young people who are in school. They don't know why they're learning about, geometry and trigonometry and decimals. They don't know why they're learning, and they don't know that there are people that look like them who have done these types of things. So this is very, very important. Joan E. Higginbotham was born in Chicago, Illinois. She graduated from Whitney M. Young Magnet High School in Chicago in 1982. She received a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale in 1987, a master's degree in management from the Florida Institute of Technology in 1992, and a master's degree in space systems from the Florida Institute of Technology in 1996. Selected as an astronaut in 1996 and flew on the STS-116 in 2006. Okay, guys, this is the last row here. And these next two, I think, are the most highlighted Black astronauts in terms of Black history and in the mainstream media and pop culture. Mae Jemison and Ronald E McDonald. Mae C. Jemison was born October 17th, 1956, in Decatur, Alabama. She graduated from Morgan Park High School in Chicago, Illinois in 1973. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering and fulfilled the requirements for a Bachelor of Arts in African American Studies from Stanford University in 1977 and a doctorate degree in medicine from Cornell University in 1981. Jemison was selected for the astronaut program in 1987 and was the science mission specialist on STS-47 Space Lab J with over 190 hours in space. So I'm certain you all have heard of her before, Mae Jemison. Ronald E. McDonald. This one has a real significance for me because, I'll tell you about it afterwards, after I read his bio. Ronald E. McDonald was born on October 21st, 1950, in Lake City, South Carolina. He graduated from Carver High School in Lake City in 1967. He received a Bachelor of Science in Physics from North Carolina A&T University in 1977 and a Doctorate of Philosophy in Physics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1976, my birth year. Presented an honorary doctorate of laws from North Carolina A&T State University in 1978. McNair was selected as an astronaut candidate in 1978 and flew first on the STS-41B, logging 191 hours in space before he died aboard the Challenger. So for those of you who were born in the 70s or even before, you remember the Challenger. We sat in class and watched the Challenger lift off, and then we all watched it explode in real time. I think what happened with the Challenger was that one of the O-rings had cracked on one of the booster rockets. These space shuttles, they use booster rockets to go up into space, and the O-rings cracked, and so ice and water got inside the booster rocket, and when it ignited, the ignited fuel got out, and so, but that was very tragic, and I remember sitting there and watching that. My best friend said that they sent us home early that day. I don't remember that, but I do remember seeing the rocket and the space shuttle explode and wondering, just seeing all the parts go in different directions, and in my young mind wondering, did anyone survive that? Is there a chance that they survived? But they named the McNair program. I'm here, Dr. Dunbar is here because I participated in the Ronald E McNair program. That was a program designed to expose underrepresented minorities to graduate research. So I did that program for 2 years at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Got a little taste of biomedical research, and that led me to the University of Michigan. So it was my participation in the McNair program, named after Ronald E. McNair, that helped bring me here. And we were talking about social class on this channel, on my original channel last night. I believe Ronald E. McNair is a Q, or he was a Q. So he was a member of Omega Psi Phi. Okay, we're almost done. Leland D. Melvin was born February 15th, 1964 in Lynchburg, Virginia. He graduated from Heritage High School in Lynchburg, Virginia in 1982. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia in 1986, and a Master of Science degree in Material Science Engineering from the University of Virginia in 1991. Melvin was selected by NASA in June 1998 and flew on the STS-122, which delivered the European Space Agency's Columbus laboratory to the International Space Station. He flew on STS-129 in 2009. Melvin served as Associate Administrator for NASA's Office of Education from 2010 until 2014. I think we're down to the last 3 here. Oh, got another bot in here. Let me get rid of this one. Once again, if you're watching over on my original Big Discussions 76 channel, Super Chat is live. If you want to make a donation, my Cash App and PayPal are there. And if you're watching on the playback, that information is below in the description box. Bobby Satcher was born and raised in Hampton, Virginia, and attended Denmark Olar High School in Denmark, South Carolina. He received a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and earned a doctorate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Satcher went to medical school at Harvard University, came to NASA from a research post at Northwestern University in Illinois and was an orthopedic surgeon in Chicago. NASA selected Satcher in 2004, and he flew as a mission specialist on STS 129 in 2009. So these individuals, their backgrounds, their backgrounds aren't too shabby. Northwestern, MIT, those are all top tier. So, um, and as a part of my story, I think I wrote this in my essay entitled "The Story of How I Earned My STEM Degree." My entire time growing up in Buffalo, and I went to a technical high school in Buffalo, I don't recall hearing about MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but that's very prestigious. That's a very, um, if you get into MIT and if you graduate from MIT, yeah, you're in some pretty elite company. My graduate advisor earned his bachelor's degree from MIT. So we just have to get the importance of these things out. Um, Jay Bones, I believe Jay Bones. I'm thinking about Jay Bones. Is it you or we ain't signing who went to Notre Dame? Was it you? Either way, in a lot of communities, there's no feel for the importance of these institutions and what it means when someone has gone to MIT or Northwestern or um, there's very little feel for that. And just think about some of the stories I told last night about social class and in terms of when you ascend in your education and when you start to comport yourself a certain way, when you start to articulate yourself a certain way, when you start to speak a certain way, um, some of the people in your own community might look at you kind of strange. And as I'm reading over these people's credentials, I can hear them speaking and talking just like me, or I can hear myself talking just like them. So when you become accomplished like these people and you're, you know, at NASA and you're in medical programs and you're in school at MIT and Florida and FIT, the Florida Institute of Technology, and Georgia Tech and Stanford, you're gonna learn to talk and comport yourself a certain way. And I imagine these people had to leave certain other individuals in their family and in their circles behind. All right, last two. Winston E. Scott. He was born August 6th, 1950, in Miami, Florida. He graduated from Coral Gables High School in Coral Gables, Florida, in 1968. He received a Bachelor of Arts in Music from Florida State University in 1972 and a Master of Science in Aeronautical Engineering from the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School in 1980. He was selected by NASA in 1992. Scott flew on the STS-72 in 1996 and the STS-87 in 1997. He logged a total of 24 days, 14 hours, and 34 minutes in space, including 3 spacewalks totaling 19 hours and 26 minutes. And so our last astronaut here is Stephanie D. Wilson. She was born in 1996 in Boston, Massachusetts. She graduated from Taconic High School in Pittsfield, Massachusetts in 1984. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering science from Harvard University in 1988 and a Master of Science in aerospace engineering from the University of Texas in 1992. Wilson was selected by NASA in April 1996. She completed her first space flight on STS-121 in 2006. Wilson flew again on STS-120 in October 2007 and STS-131 in 2010. And there we are. Those are our Black astronauts, and I have to look and see if this list was updated because this is from. Is this dated? What's the date of this one? Yeah, this doesn't have a date on it, but there may be younger individuals who are in NASA right now, and I'm certain that there are. But some of these people, um, think about Elon Musk's SpaceX. Some of these people, one of these guys, uh, flew on one of the early SpaceX missions. Think about uh, Richard Branson's company and Jeff Bezos's company. Think about the current effort to go to Mars and all these different things. Think about once you obtain these expertises, you have the capability to move into administration and then even to start your own companies. So and just think about their backgrounds. Think about all the hours of studying that they had to do. Think about they had to qualify to become astronauts. They had to qualify to become military servicemen and women. They had to work their way through medical school in some instances. So this is these people are all very, very well accomplished, and I think that they don't get enough recognition. They don't get enough recognition. And our going back to imaging and messaging, we see a lot of athletes and entertainers and celebrities and politicians and political pundits. But where are our Black astronauts? Where are our STEM professionals? Why don't we see more of both the men and the women? I like to think that that's intentional. I mean, part of it's ignorance. If there are no STEM professionals in your family, you don't know and you won't know. But why are these images not shown more readily in media and pop culture? I have one more link here. I'm not going to read this, but this is in the description box below in case anyone here watching live or anyone watching on the playback wants to go and peruse for yourself. This is another site I found looking today. This is also from NASA, and it's called Honoring African American Astronauts. So this lists off. Okay, I just made a comment. I don't know if there are any more after them. Well, here's one right here. I don't know if I can blow this up. Yeah, I can blow this up for myself. Yeah, so in 2020, Victor J. Glover, he might have just been on the list. Victor J. Yep, he's on the list. This was the gentleman who um, Glover was selected in 2013 and is training for his post-certification mission of SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft and a long-duration mission aboard the International Space Station. So yeah, he was just on a mission in 2020, and I don't know how old this is, but he may still be in orbit. So this link is in the description box below as well, in case anyone wants to go take a look. So again, these were all either before they went into NASA, these were all military servicemen and women. Some of them were medical doctors, some of them were scientists. But even as airmen and airwomen and naval officers, they were still scientists. These are all scientists. So I don't know if anyone wants to say something. I have a small crowd here. But I'm going to drop the link. If anyone wants to come and say something, you can come up and say something. If not, I'll shut the stream down and get on with I'll get on with the rest of my night. There's the StreamYard link. If anyone wants to come up and say something, did you know about these people? Did anything that I read, did anything particularly stand out to you? If you want to come and say something, you can do it right now. There's Guion Bluford. I guess his nickname was Guy. That's him and his crew, the crew he was a part of. There's him as an older man, a little more gray. There's Ronald E McNair. Yeah, there's the crew of the Challenger. There they are going out to, I think, um, that fateful mission. There's Frederick D. Gregory. Charles F. Bolden. Dr. Bernard Harris. Specialist Winston E. Scott. Specialist Robert L. Kirby. Robert L. Beamer Kirby, that was his nickname, Beamer. Let's see. Lieutenant Colonel Michael P. Anderson. Stephanie D. Wilson. Joan E. Higginbotham. B. Alvin Drew. Leland D. Melvin. Dr. Robert Bobby Satcher. Victor J. Glover. Jeanette J. Epps. So these are all people I just read about. Victor J. Glover, Jessica Watkins, and Stephanie D. Wilson. So this is below in the description box in case you want to read some more about the individuals I just highlighted. So guys and gals, with that, I think that I will conclude this. I'm about just over an hour, and I have to run out. I'm going to read some of your comments, and then I'll shut down. The StreamYard link is there in case anyone wants to come. Jay Bones says what's up. Herb came through. Beautiful NASA t-shirt. Yep, that's my favorite one. Chris stopped through. Peanut Butter Hero said, when I was in Houston, I toured NASA. Mission Control is probably the best part of the tour. Gino says, what's up, Doc? Joe says, a good book about Black astronauts is They Had a Dream by J. Alfred Phelps, written in 1994. It needs to be updated. Gino says, hashtag Pure Michigan. I live in Houston now, but it's Flint forever. All right, so he's a Flintstone. You should wear a Black History Month t-shirt. You should wear a Black History Month t-shirt on this podcast. Jay Bones says, great shirt. Many thanks for the book highlights as well. Joe, the average brother, says, I was a second lieutenant in the Air Force when the original Cosmos came out. I have a few choice words for Carl Sagan. Dude spoke greasy about the doggone. Okay, I don't know what that means about the doggone. If you're still here, write something in the chat. And thank you once again, Joe, for correcting me. It was Octavia Spencer in Hidden Figures, not Octavia Butler. Let's see, Helmet Chili says, I totally agree with you on the images for boys. Yep. I mean, think how many Black boys would benefit from seeing all of those male astronauts, all those black male astronauts. Mitchell says Daniel G. Nichols, another brilliant mathematician at NASA for more than 25 years. Chris told us that about her family's involvement in aerospace. Royston stopped through, said greetings. He said, I just had that conversation with my 11-year-old son. Jay Bones says, yes, sir. Jay Bones says, Black excellence. Kareem stopped. She said, please like and share, guys. Thank you, Kareem, for stopping through. We have to link up after the Batman comes out or anything else that's relevant for us to cover over on my media channel. If you're new coming in, please hit the like button on either side. Kareem Not Karen says Carnegie Mellon University. Does that mean you attended Carnegie Mellon University, Kareem? Ian says, great info. Thanks, Dr. Dunbar. I'll have to check out the website. Kareem says, hello, everyone. Doctor's order, good stuff. And Royston Gibbs says, thank you, Dr. Dunbar. I will catch the replay. Caught the live stream late. Ian says, doggone are a Malian tribe who knew about Sirius B, even though it's not visible with the naked eye. All right. I'll have to remember that going forward. All right. Well, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. This might be the last Black History Month live stream on my science channel for 2022. I don't know, but you know what? This should be done throughout the year. So this shouldn't be restricted just to Black History Month. On my original channel, if you're watching over there, Saturday, I plan to talk about Reginald Lewis. So look out for that. Please be on attendance for that. Or should I say, please be in attendance for that. A little shameless plug here. If you haven't, and you're interested in following me not only as a YouTube content creator, but also as a writer, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. The link is in the description box below. There's a greeting and then the subscribe button is there. I promise I will not share your information with a third party unless they offer me a sick sum of money. I'm just kidding. But that's there. And I think that's it. Joe says that part. All right. See, even when you're the content creator, you can learn stuff from the audience. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Well, I'll have to look that up. And I didn't watch Cosmos. If it aired in 1980, I was only 4 years old. So, and then throughout my childhood, if there were reruns on, we didn't watch it in my house, which is unfortunate because it was a science intensive show. And I had an aptitude for science and biology at an early age. So I missed that Slight by Carl Sagan. And I missed the original airing of Cosmos. And I also didn't watch, maybe it's on Hulu or another platform, but I didn't catch the Carl Sagan, not the Carl Sagan, the Neil deGrasse Tyson version of it. So I have some catching up to do. Anyhow, everyone, I'm gonna Ian says, brother, you know your stuff. All right, everyone, that's it. I have to run out. So thank you for everyone who was here. Enjoy the rest of your night. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye. I'm going to read this comment from Joe. He says, read the book Blacks in Science, Ancient and Modern by Ivan Van Sertima. All right. You know what? Before I go, let me say this. I attended uh, Johnson C. Smith University. It's up on the wall there. It's an HBCU. Ivan Van Sertima, I do remember him coming. I did listen to him speak. I was in the auditorium. And what's interesting is that I think even in our science department, I know that they had a limited amount of time to teach us what they wanted to teach us. I was a biology major, but I don't remember talk of these people or of these astronauts at my HBCU. So, I mean, when you're running a university, it's one thing to be a student and it's one thing to be an alumni and to have opinions on a university. And there's only a set amount of time to teach the students what you need to teach them. But I think our HBCUs need to, there's some other things they need to teach the students before the students graduate and go on to their PWIs or go into the workforce, or just some other things that we need to know, or that we needed to know before we left, besides just getting our diplomas. So anyhow, everyone, once again, I'll do it again. Always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye bye.